Welcome to State of the State. I'm Darlene and I'm in conversation with John Healy. John is the recipient of the Rhode Island Civic Education Award. This is a new award, first time around, given by our Secretary of State, Greg Amore. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much.
So, a pre-show, just before we went on air, I asked if you had a civics education in school.
And I didn't.
And you didn't. So, from there, how'd you get here?
Well, that's an interesting question. My principal asked me to do it, I think, in 2016.
Okay.
And so I did it 2016 through 2018. And then we got a new principal. So then I got asked to do it this year.
Okay, where were you teaching?
Providence, Ecubed Academy.
Okay, and you're still there?
Yes.
Yeah. What is your background? Where'd you study? Do you want to share anything about your personal life, your educational life before becoming a teacher?
So I wasn't a great student, and that probably made me a better teacher. I graduated from my 6th college, and it was an all-women's college. And I was out of the military, and I talked my way in. I went to the nun's office 3 days in a row, and she decided my persistence would let me in. So I was the first male to graduate from Emmanuel College. So, and they had a great education program, so that's why I wanted to go there. It was 3 blocks from Fenway Park. So.
Oh, so this was a win-win.
It was a win-win-win.
Okay, so you were drawn to Emmanuel College because of their education program.
Yes.
You're a baseball fan?
I am.
Okay.
I was a baseball coach.
Oh, baseball coach. Okay.
Yeah.
What else do you want to share about your personal life?
I have a beautiful wife that teaches with me at Ecubed Academy, and I have 2 wonderful kids. My son's playing baseball in college right now. My daughter is working for the Forest Service. So.
Why a civics education? So why did your principal come to you and say, you need to teach this?
I think the state passed a law that made civics education a requirement, and he didn't have enough sections. So I got to teach 3 sections of civics this year.
Okay.
So, and I like it.
Okay.
So.
What does the curriculum look like?
Well, the curriculum was text-based, but we didn't stick to it. I decided that I would do what I did before. Which was get the kids in understanding the process. So we wrote legislation in 2018, and then we wrote legislation again this year on mental health. And the kids, I had 3 classes, and they all wanted to work on a bill that gave them excused mental health days from school, so that a lot of our kids are first-generation immigrants, and there's not a whole understanding of mental health. And these kids that we have in high school were hit pretty hard with COVID, and they lost their ability to feel connected to each other, I think. And so what we did at Ecubed Academy was I created a Justice League. And then the kids decided to write a bill. So then we got it sponsored, and then we went through the whole process. And we didn't get it passed.
Who sponsored it?
Representative Kislik. And so then we just got 2 Senate sponsors for next year. Okay. So we're going to push again next year.
So what does the bill say?
It's 4 excused absences for mental health. For students, and that's, you know, a lot of the larger, we work at a small high school. We have just over 400 students, I believe, and so it isn't as big of an issue for our kids because teachers are more understanding and less likely to not, allow you to take a test if you miss a day. But excused absences versus unexcused absence. So. With the kids really wanted to have the ability to have an excused absence for mental health. The state of Massachusetts passed the bill, and the kids had seen that, and so they were very interested in getting the same kind of representation. So
does the child come to school with a note from their counselor or therapist?
Well, we didn't actually have that in the bill. It was just straight on your word, so that you didn't have to disclose, so that you could, have that ability, 1 per quarter, and that's what they were interested in.
Okay. So that's interesting, as I'm a mental health therapist. So I'll definitely have to talk more about that. Let's side that so that we can just come back to day one. So sitting in your classroom, what happens on day one?
I learned the kids' names.
Okay, yeah.
I try to figure out, who's in my classroom, and I'd like them to get to know each other. So my first process is always getting kids to actually know each other's names, and that I would know their name, so that we can all, talk to each other as human beings. So.
Now, so if a student says, "What is civics? What is civic education?" What's your response?
Well, for me, it's the process of learning about government and learning about your rights and learning about your responsibilities and learning how to make it work for you. So I really think it's important for kids to kind of take the mystery away, so that they can see how the process works and then see that showing up makes a difference. I literally had 12 students show up for this bill to testify for the bill after school, and they don't tell you where they're going to schedule, when they're going to schedule it. They tell you the week as it happens, and they pick the day after the PSAT, SAT. So the kids were, that's soul-crushing test, and so, but all 12 kids showed up. And then they put us last.
Were they at the State House?
At the State House.
That's fantastic.
So they came after school in the State House, and then the representative kids promised us if we show up, we'll get you in and out really fast. And so they ended up not honoring that, and we ended up going last after the controversial special ed bill that went up. So we waited. I think the kids finally testified 7 o'clock.
p.m.
Wow. But they didn't leave, and it was a testament to them. So, and then a bunch of other opportunities opened up, and the kids showed up. I think we got them tickets to a Jack Reed breakfast, and I had 8 kids go. We made them business cards, and they were in business. So, it's been, the kids are really, at Ecubed Academy, my whole career.
Yeah, tell me about the academy.
So we're a small public school, regular public school in Providence. We've been there since 2004. I joined in 2005, and we have a lot of the same faculty. I'm nationally board certified. My wife's nationally board certified. I think there are 3 other teachers
board
that are
certified.
National Board Certification for Teaching.
Okay.
It's it's kind of a rigorous process, and I've been, I think, 18 years. So, but it literally helps you. It teaches you how to use technology better. It keeps you current. Which I think is important as a teacher. Yeah.
What drew you to that school? What did you like about that school?
Small.
Why did you want to teach this?
Small. I started at Feinstein High School in Providence in '95. And that was small. And it was built around community service, which I think is really important. And so we got a bad principal. So another small school opened up. And so a bunch of teachers went. From Feinstein over, and Ecubed was basically founded on the original design that I was on the design team. So I believed in the philosophy. So I've been there since.
Yeah, and what's the philosophy, John?
That every kid can learn, and sometimes seat time isn't the most important thing. We had teaming early on. The district has pushed us away from that, but just kind of a humanities model. I teach history, but I really don't like using textbooks. I think it's a very limiting process. So I'd rather get to depth with the kids. So I like to use real books and real novels, and and develop courses around that. So We had more freedom. We have less freedom now.
Yeah, well, I was actually just going to ask what's changed since 1995. So you're saying less freedom. What does that mean?
Well, it's more text-based, more data-driven.
I don't know what that means, though.
Well, it's kind of the buzzwords that they use to, to push testing instead of like civics, where a kid can learn about how the process works. You're, in math and you're in English, and it's very cookie cutter, and I think earlier on in my career we had more freedom. In terms of novels you could use with history, as versus a textbook.
Okay.
Reading the autobiography of Malcolm X as opposed to looking at, a couple of pages in a textbook.
That somebody else wrote about him.
Correct.
Okay. Do you have some favorite books?
I love my AP U.S. History class loves Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee because they get to see the other side of the Native American experience, and so I think it gives them another perspective, which I think is really important in history to realize that what is truth. When you really can walk around a subject. I think it's really important for kids to understand, perspective. So my history classes tend to be about critical thinking and thinking around things and getting kids to read, write, and think.
Any other favorites?
I love the autobiography of Malcolm X, but Just Mercy, I think. For my Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. The Rhode Island had it as the book of the year, and so I asked people when they were done with it if they could donate it to the school, and they did. So it was nice, and then my students got to meet the author and get signed books, which was kind of cool. So I think that was a pretty good experience.
Okay. When did you hear about your nomination?
I was kind of surprised by it. I got told late into the process.
Okay.
So,
who nominated you?
I had a student in my class.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really nice. The kids kind of just, they really. I'm trying to think of the word to say. They were so passionate about just everything. So I've always been lucky.
Yeah. What grade level do you teach?
9th through 12th.
Okay.
Most of my students are 10th, 11th, and 12th. Every once in a while I get a 9th grader. So.
By the way, do you know who your competition was?
There were 18 other nominations, and I saw a couple of them in the audience. They were very, very good teachers in that room. It was a spectacular honor to actually win. I didn't expect it. When I heard I was nominated, I'm like, oh well, I'm not winning that.
What was the criteria?
I don't even know.
Oh, you don't know what you went for?
No. I don't. I think it was for the work that I've done.
So like the content?
I think it was about taking the kids through the legislative process, and I think it's because I've done it a number of times, and I don't know how. They had a panel of people that picked the winner, and I don't. I'm humbled that they picked me. So. I was honored to be nominated. So. Okay.
So, what's next at Ecubed?
We're going to keep the Justice League going. So the kids. So after we got through all there was a competition, and then we won. I forget the name of the award. I should remember. I off the top of my head, I can't remember. But Civics Action or. One of those things. And the kids were like, so after the whole thing, I don't normally teach civics. I'm not teaching civics next year. So
What?
I know. So yeah, it's how they pick schedules. Don't ask.
So you've been teaching since 2018. Well, you started 2016 to 2018, and then you went back to it in 2021. Is that right?
This year was the.
Oh, this year you went back to it, and
Yeah.
So someone else is going to be teaching.
Yeah, someone else will be teaching at our school.
Okay.
So yeah, so one and done.
Okay.
So I'm good with older kids, but we're going to keep the Justice League going as a after-school activity, and we're going to see if we can fundraise a trip to get them to Washington D.C. so that they could see the, so they could see the national process as well as the state process.
What does the state process look like as opposed to the national process?
So, well, you have a lot easier access, and Rhode Island's very small. And I'm from the Midwest, so the political process in the Midwest is a whole lot more complicated than the political process here.
How so?
Well, in Minnesota it was a caucus, so there was it was very hard to get you to your actual elected officials. And Hennepin County, where I grew up, was the size of Rhode Island. So your county, you really didn't have, you drove an hour, to get to the State House, so here everything is right there. And, I was fortunate enough to have a state rep in our building that introduced me to other state reps, and I reached out. And when the kids are interested in mental health, it's not my particular area of expertise, so I looked for other help to try to get their will, to happen. So I think one of the motivations was at their larger high schools. Some of their friends go to the larger high schools, and the teachers can be really brutal about excused absences versus unexcused absences, and kids under stress. That's that's what they need, more stress, right? And I think we could alleviate some stress from kids, without compromising. I think a lot of our problems could be solved if you build community, and in a small school you have that capability as a teacher. So I always try to build community. So we're going to keep the Justice League going. And the kids, literally the day after, I was ready for summer vacation, and literally they came to school till Friday. They were coming and planning, and my board was full of notes about their plans. So we have a very large first-generation immigrant population that is seriously under stress because their parents think just getting here and moving here is the magic ticket, and that they get all the responsibility of being an adult because they have to translate everything for their parents, and they don't have any relief. And if they come home with anything other than an A, there's trouble. And I don't think. I think a lot of teachers could, if they walked a mile in the kids' shoes. I think that it could alleviate some of the mental stress that we're seeing with kids.
It's incredibly stressful for a child to have to parent or to take on parental responsibilities and translating, for sure.
Yeah.
If you're accompanying your parent to a physician's office or the bank or anywhere,
and they're pulled out of school.
To do something like that?
Oh, absolutely. And then then their chemistry teacher says, "Oh, you can't take the test," and it's like, wow, you're going to get a 0.
Well, why are they being pulled out of school, though?
I get it, but the kid still is the, I don't know. I think there's lots of ways.
For a child. That would create anxiety for sure.
Yeah, and I think in a school that's our size, we can afford to be human. I think I think you get a lot more out of a kid when you treat him like a human being than if you hold them to a rule when it's out of their control.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what would be in a child's control, though?
If you're asking if the state holds parents accountable, they don't. So that idea that I'm going to hold that parent accountable. That doesn't happen, so it falls on the kid. So, and then if the kid's penalized, you know, it's like, what did that kid do to be penalized? You know, they did what their family asked them to do. I think we can be reasonable, you know, and you know, I guess we can talk to the parents, but if they have an appointment at the bank or they have an appointment at immigration, they're gonna go. And if your chemistry test happens to fall on that day, I think you have an opportunity to be a human being.
Well, so the community, how much are you bringing the parents in to talk about things like this and to get them involved?
It's very difficult.
Is it?
It's very difficult. Well, we call. You know, I'm not bilingual.
Okay.
So we have a lot of teachers that are. But that's really difficult. You know, you have people working, you know, 1, 2, 3 jobs, and COVID happened, and there's a lot of, you know, it's getting people into a building now. I mean, you know, if I wanted you to be a guest speaker in my classroom, the amount of paperwork that we would have to do to make that happen versus,
Really?
yeah, because you'd have to have a security clearance in Providence because the state mandates that.
So I would have to have a BCI check to come in to speak. Wow.
Which is, you know, takes away opportunity. You know, so I don't know. I think we can pick our battles.
Yeah, so think about your speaker that might have to take time out of work,
Right.
away from their family maybe, to go down to, what, the Attorney General's office or something, or the local police station to get the BCI check?
I'm not going to ask. I mean, it's,
Well, can you rewrite the law? Can
well,
you
maybe.
talk to your students?
Well,
Can
maybe.
You, speak to the
You know, the
Justice League?
workaround is we've been using Zoom. You know, so the kids have got interviewed a couple of times, you know, through Zoom, and I think it's been great.
So is there a parent-teacher night or
we have.
it's just something to create that
Oh, you
community?
know, we do, but they're, you know, all right, so I've been doing it 29 years, and I get a lot of parents in. I'm always positive. And this year I got 8 parents out of 80 students, 8. So, and that was a high number. You know, I think the average is about 3. You know, we had them after school, and then we had them at different times, and it, you know, it's difficult. You know, it's, I'm not teaching the parents. You know, I'm here to teach the kids, you know, so they're my responsibility. So education happens when it happens, you know, so I answer texts, you know, when I was at the VLA during COVID, I think I live streamed the presidential debates. You know, we did school at like 9 o'clock at night, you know, because we could, you know, so I don't know. I think these opportunities come up, and, you know, a lot of it's happened after school hours, but, you know, it's worth it because then the kid, they're engaged, but they're engaged forever. You know, I think that's a victory.
Yeah. So we're down to less than 10 minutes. Okay. Where do you want to take this conversation?
Well, I don't have an agenda, so I have no...
Well, what's important to you, John? What's important that you share with our audience? Actually, they're giving me the 5-minute cue, so...
Okay. I've had a blessed career. So I've had students that have gone on and done great things, and then they come back and they give a hand to the next generation. I have one student that she's at Hampshire College, and she's gotten 8 of our students college scholarships, and like one just graduated from Columbia with a master's degree from Columbia in social work. So, you know, that must Yeah.
This is one of your students.
Yeah. So, but we at Ecubed Academy, we've had a pipeline of kids. We have first generation immigrants, and as a teacher, you're never going to meet a harder working kid. And so as a teacher, you want to reach out and create opportunity for that kid so that they see what they're capable of. And I think if you can instill confidence in kids and then show them that, you know, this political process isn't that difficult. You know, if you have an idea that's really good, why not push? You know, why not change your community? One of I had a student, Aaliyah, who was being interviewed on the radio, and the radio host asked, "Why are you kids even caring? There's so many different things." He was he had a negative
Why are you kids even caring? Is that what you
caring
said?
about writing legislation.
Okay.
You know, and he was kind of pushing on them just a little bit to see why they did it. And she goes, and it shut him down wherever he was going. He thought we were a charter school. And then once he found out we weren't a charter school, the interview kind of went in a different direction. He was kind of strange. But she goes, if I don't care, who's going to care? And I thought that was like the best response you could have. You know, so these kids understand that they have skin in this game, and they want to lead. You know, and I think, you know, our generation should not discount them.
So aside from this mental health bill,
Yeah.
does the Justice League have anything else that they want to propose?
Oh no, there's like 10 things. They were like, I was just thinking about my board at the end of the year, and there were like 10 things, and they were, you know, I think, yeah, they have quite an agenda.
You gonna share it?
I don't think it's my place to share I don't think they fleshed it out yet.
Okay.
There are a couple things. I've literally never worked in a building with a working science lab, and I've been in two new schools.
Okay.
So Providence has been a little lacking on some of the access for opportunities that our kids get, where we're not a test-in school. You know, so.
What does that mean?
Well, classical high school exists in Providence, so it creates an interesting dynamic in the rest of the high schools. I don't know how to expand on that.
Okay. Well, what's a testing school?
There's a test to get into the school.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right,
Yeah.
right. There's a test to get into classical.
So,
correct.
but then you judge all the other high schools on their test scores, which is kind of bizarre, because if you take all the good test takers out of the mix, and then you don't expect the average in all the other high schools to drop, that's, you know, I don't know, they put it on teachers, but I don't think that's fair. But I'll put my students up against, you know, any students, because they literally have heart, and I don't think you can, you know, that's just, I don't know, my whole career.
Okay.
So just.
So you're not teaching civics in the fall. What
I'm not.
are you teaching? What is on the agenda?
I'm teaching, so I'm piloting African American, AP African American Studies at our school. And then I'm teaching AP US, and then they push me back into American history.
Okay.
So that's what I'll be teaching next year.
Okay.
Unless they change it. They're allowed to change it once.
Okay.
So
All right.
you never know your schedule. So they just tell you what you're going to do. They don't. I think they ask for your preference, and then they put you where they need
Do you
you.
have a favorite course or class that you like teaching?
The next one. I literally, I get bored. So I think, well, I know that I'm teaching a new class. And so my job this summer will be reading.
Thank you. And congratulations, John.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for watching State of the State. I'm Darlene DeRezzo. Be sure to find us on social media. We've just started a new Instagram account at State of the State RI.